Oh boy, class 14? Wow, we're getting to the end. This is class 14 of o seu Clique no Inglês, and today we're going to talk about prepositions. Where do I start? Prepositions, prepositions, prepositions. According to Cambridge Dictionary, there are over 100 prepositions in English. You probably studied prepositions in Portuguese, didn't you? Do you know all of them? I mean it. Ask yourself this question. Do you know all the prepositions in Portuguese? You might even remember a list of them, because I remember memorizing a list of all the prepositions once when I was preparing for an exam. Don't you sometimes make mistakes in them? I do, all the time. All the time I see myself when I have to write. I'm in doubt between using one or another. I have to, nowadays I go to Google, right? It's so easy. We can have access to several links. Choose the one with the best reputation so we can check the examples and see which preposition is used with a certain verb, a certain adjective, right, in Portuguese. But why is it that in English we need to know all of them? Why? But they're important. Yes, I agree, they are important. But look, think about a gringo trying to communicate with you in Portuguese. Imagine it says something like this. Então você nasceu de Brasília. I don't know about you, but I'd never correct his usage, his pronunciation. Unless, and this is a very big unless, right? Capital letters. He made a mistake that might get him into trouble. If he uses bad language, right? If he said something in Portuguese that might cause him to be in trouble with the law, right? Only a cultural element that I might help him out, okay? But if it's only to understand, preposition is not that very important, right? So try to concentrate on one thing: communication. Communication is not made up of perfect words. Look, phrasal verb, right? Made up of, right? Communication is not composed of perfect words, right? Composed is a lot closer to Portuguese, but I use this because it's more frequent. Communication is not made up of perfect words and sentences. There are a lot more things involved in it. Gestures, looks, intonation, facial expressions, smiles, body language. And look, on smiles, I have a wonderful example. In 1993, I got a backpack, a 10-kilogram backpack, and put on my back, and I traveled to Europe, and I visited many countries. Few days before I left Brasilia, my dad came up to me and said, look, you're gonna be traveling, and in some places, of course, people speak English and you will use your English to communicate. But there are places that you will see or you will meet people who don't speak Portuguese and who don't speak English. But there is something these people understand. They understand smiles. So if you're tired, if you're sick, if you're happy, when you're happy it's easy, right? But in the other circumstances, Try to keep a smile on your face, because if they don't understand you, or if they don't understand you completely, at least the smile is universal and they will understand your smile. And I have to tell you that, yes, my smile got me out of a very serious situation when I got to Porto in Portugal. And I was very tired and I was broke. I didn't have any money. Someone had lent me some escudos, which was the Portuguese currency at the time, before euro. And I got on a bus and I tried to get to the youth hostel, but I couldn't because it was closed for checking in. So I had to walk around, and because I was really tired and I had this huge backpack on my back, it was difficult. But uh, I bumped into a guy. He offered me some drugs, some heroin. But I remembered my dad and I smiled and I looked at him, and he asked me, "You want some? Tu queres heroína?" And I remembered my dad saying about the smile, so I smiled and I said to him, "Não, mas se você conseguir um lugar para eu dormir, você vai ser um herói para mim." Okay? So, yes, smiles can save you in communicative exchanges, right? Conversations. So, keep this in mind, right? Much more important than speaking with the correct preposition is using a smile, using the right body language, right? Using facial expressions, gestures, intonation to make yourself understood. Prepositions, right, are there. They're gonna help you, but they're not gonna kill you if you make mistakes in them. When you start taking these into consideration, you concentrate less on perfection and more on possibility. This is a very important part of your click. I know it because it was for mine. What you did for phrasal verbs, you can do here. In phrasal verbs, I told you to study them in chunks. Same applies for prepositions, right? Grammar books usually explain prepositions by grouping them into chunks. Practice, practice, practice. I dare to say that you're going to do exercises on prepositions for the rest of your English learning life, because as I remembered with you at the beginning of this class, in Portuguese we do the same. Why should it be different in English? Yes, the same applies to English. Don't expect to know 100%. You don't need that to be understood. Start from what's interesting for you. For example, if you like traveling, think about the prepositions that are involved with flights, airports, public transportations, getting a cab, getting a taxi, getting an Uber, right? Go into a hotel, get into a hotel, checking in, checking out, visiting places, directions. How do I get to this place? How do I get to that place? Those are magic prepositions for communication situations when you're traveling. If you don't want to use your English when you're traveling, but in your professional environment, find the prepositions that are most common in technical texts related to your professional field, right? Drink from these texts, drink from these talks, these lectures, and then practice these prepositions and become familiar with them. This is important because they're going to be relevant for you. trying to memorize, right, or trying to study prepositions that are distant from your reality, from a possible day-to-day application, a possible use, frequent use, they're going to be distant from you, and your brain will probably delete them in the process, right? So attaching them to something that is relevant for you will help you keep them, will help your brain consider them important and then keep them, make them stick in your brain, and therefore be available for you to use them. Okay, guys, we are getting close to the end. Okay, but look, prepositions, exercise, exercise, exercise. Prepositions, phrasal verbs, exercise, exercise, exercise. Okay, lots of practice. That's the secret, right? The secret is exercise. Okay, see you for class 15, the last class in this part of the course. Bye-bye.